So I'm here today with Elliott Forrest from ArtsRock, and it is a pleasure to have you on this recording. And I have a whole bunch of questions for you.
Good to speak with you. Whatever you want to know.
Okay, so what attracts you to classical, jazz, and chamber music? Why do they speak to you?
Well, I like all kinds of music, actually, from classical to jazz, chamber music, rock music, blues, as well. I think what's what defines us as humans is that there's something inherent in our animal brain that responds to music in a way that nothing else does. It stimulates us. It makes us happy. It brings us back memories. I think that it just life would not be right without music.
Yeah, I also find it very healing. It's yeah, I agree with you. Um, so where does your love of storytelling come from?
I got involved in theater when I was young in West Texas. I did my first play when I was 14 and found a theater company as a young teenager, and it defined my life. It really, I'm here because of that. I found that plays, particularly in musicals and live events, touched me in a way that nothing else did, and I just knew I wanted to be a part of that world. I just knew that I looked around and saw other things, and I went, I just want to be in the entertainment field. I'm not sure exactly what part, but I knew that that's really what I wanted to do. I started to take some acting classes in my theater school and college at the University of Texas in Austin, and I had a professor. Maybe he did me a favor, but he was like, "You're not an actor." And that was devastating for a couple of days. And but I wasn't sure I wanted to be one. I just, you don't want to have somebody tell you that. But it was really at that point that I thought, well, maybe I'll try this directing thing. And I started to take directing classes. And I directed my first musical and produced my first musical on a pretty large scale for 19 years of age. It was then that I was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
And you still do it, which is kind
And
of
I'm
wonderful.
basically doing the exact same thing decades later. I won't say how many.
Well, it's a good thing. And we're happy that you are absolutely doing that. So I in the process of doing my homework, I realized that you've interviewed hundreds of people on the radio and TV. So what's been your favorite interview and why?
Oh, it's hard to really pick one, but I like comedians. I had the opportunity to interview John Cleese, which was incredibly fun. The most recent one I did for Arts Rock, we do these celebrity interviews here on stage in Rockland and Nyack. Harvey Firestein was great here just recently. Brian Cox from Succession, at the height of Succession, I got to chat with him on stage. That was terrific. I've gone back. There's a couple of reels out there, particularly my A&E days. Pardon me. I've gone back and looked at some of my A&E days when I hosted Breakfast with the Arts. The fact that I interviewed Uta Hagen at this moment kind of just like blows me away. A couple of legends, Merce Cunningham, Peter Ustinov. Some of those, when I look back on it, I sort of pinch myself sometimes that Michael Caine, that I've had the opportunity to learn from these people. It's not just sort of in their glow, but to pick a celebrity or an actor or director's brain and sort of really get a sense of who they are as a person and try to absorb some of that and use it in my own life.
Mm. Um, is there someone that you would like to interview that you have not interviewed, gotten a chance to interview?
This conversation came up many years ago when we started doing this in Rockland County, and my good friend Daryl Larson asked me the exact same thing. And at the time, I said Mike Nichols, and he made it happen. And I got to sit on
Wow.
stage in Rockland and Nyack for 90 minutes and go through Mike Nichols' entire filmography. And so that was a big one, and that I made that one we got to do. Who haven't I gotten? I'm actually I'm going to be coy about this. Let's just say I would love to have Sigourney Weaver on stage
Okay.
with me, and if all goes well, maybe have her be on stage with me in Nyack at some point. That would
Okay.
be fun.
I could see that. Yes. That would be very cool.
We'll see.
All right. Fingers, toes crossed. Um, so you talked about being director and producer. How is that different than just being the person doing the interview? What's your process like?
Um, I've had some real great producer mentors, some really good friends who I was able to see, and I feel like, I think if people know me, they feel like I work 24/7, and I still feel like I'm a slacker sometimes, compared to some of my mentors. But I really got to have worked with, and friends with people who were producing Broadway shows and large scale events. So when I started producing at the Hollywood Bowl, and then these last 3 years, now that I've been producing and going on tour with Itzhak Perlman, and the fact that I get to go into the Kennedy Center last year or Symphony Hall in Boston and wield these very high level union crews, and I'm the guy, I'm in charge of it. Mr. Perlman doesn't show up till later, and I'm there early in the morning. And so it's just all encompassing. And the biggest thing about being a producer on these sort of live stage events, whether it's ArtsRock in Rockland or Mr. Perlman or any of the stuff I do around the country, is preparation. It's just looking ahead of time and working out everything well ahead of time and just having no surprises. So day of, it's a matter of execution, so that everything is like, yes, this is what we talked about, and here are the lights over here, and here's the set, and we had this conversation, just no surprises. I like no drama. I'm a kind of a no drama guy. I think we ought to keep calm and say please and thank you, and let's just do this and have a good time, do our jobs. And so I just like to be prepared.
It sounds like you are. It sounds like you certainly are somebody who does their homework and does it well. Obviously, your career is long in nature.
Thank you. And I hope it's longer.
I I hope so too. I've seen a couple of things for ArtsRock, and they were wonderful. I could break into a protest song if you wanted, but you don't want to hear me sing. But let's talk about ArtsRock. It began in 2009. What was the reason for it? What generated that for you?
Well, what happened is that people know the story, I guess. What is now a grocery store in the center of town used to be a movie theater, and then it turned into the Helen Hayes Theater. And then my kids came home one day and they said, they're closing the theater. And I was like, how could they do that? There's a theater in the heart of Nyack. And so I started to make a couple of calls, and I wasn't alone. There was a whole bunch of people in our community that really saved it. I'll never forget the day that Bill Irwin and Jonathan Demme had mops and brooms in hands helping to clean the place up. So it was a real community effort, and we ran that place. I was unpaid artistic director for 4 years. I volunteered. We did hundreds of events in there. And then when it closed, we just decided as a community, a number of us decided to keep the programming going that we started there. And it was just a matter of being nomadic and renting spaces. So rather than have what was that theater space, we started to present and produce in BOCES and Nyack Center and synagogues and churches, and then at the Union Arts Center, RCC, Lafayette, so we developed our own nonprofit. We got our own nonprofit status 15 years ago. This is the beginning of our 15th season. People can find our programming at artsrock.org. We've got we just started recently to start this season. We've got more planned, and then even though there are 4 shows still to come that are on our website, there will be more. We're going to do more than what's listed right now in the coming season, but we finally planned ahead. Because of COVID, it was difficult to really plan that far ahead in the last few years, but right now we've got them. So it was a community effort. It was about the community in the sense that that's how we are run, by donations and by volunteers. And a lot of it is about the community performing as well, whether it's Tom Chapin or a conversation with Chita Rivera, who lives in our community, or Stephen Bernstein, who's performed for us a number of times, Alice Leon. We have the arts have always been very important in Rockland County. This proximity to New York City, historically, whether it's Helen Hayes or Burgess Meredith or Jonathan Demme or any of the people I just mentioned, the arts are very important to this community, and we just want to reflect that.
And it shows. I mean, to be starting your 15th year here in Rockland is a wonderful thing. And you're right. Arts are incredibly important in Rockland County. I guess my next and final question is, what performance do you have coming up? If there's anybody else that you did not mention that you care to mention.
Well, I don't know when this is going to go out or air, but November 5th, we're doing a family show, doing shows for young kids. And I mean, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds has been something we've been doing from the very beginning. We realized, especially during the pandemic, there's a whole generation of kids who've never seen live performances. So we are developing a shadow play with Jeffrey Freeberg and his Music for Life school. And we're doing Carnival of the Animals, the music of Camille Saint-Saëns, and an original production of The Emperor Has No Clothes, all done on a large screen with a shadow play. There's actors behind it, and they will create the animals, both with their bodies and puppets, and we'll retell the story, the original Hans Christian Andersen story, also as a shadow play with music and sound effects and projections. So it's going to be very creative. It's going to be great fun. That's November 5th at Bosie's. And then we are doing 2 classical candlelight concerts. We started this last season, and we're going to do 2 more this year. Very high-level classical performers at the First Reformed Church of Nyack, where there'll be hundreds of candles in the church lighting the performances. So there's one on November 11th and another one in February. And the aforementioned Alice Leon became infatuated with Peggy Lee. So we're going to be doing a tribute to Peggy Lee. She's incredible. Alice is incredible. You're going to hear the story of Peggy Lee, all of her great songs. She's got a really hot band, and that's in March. And as we talked about, I will be doing celebrity interviews on stage. I'm just not going to tell you who at this point. And again, artsrock.org is where people can find out what we're all about.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to being an audience in your in ArtsRock's performances. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.